What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Out of the Shadows. As you can probably hear, it is raining. I am filming this in my car right before work. I haven't been writing any formal episodes lately. For the most part, it's all, like I said, stream of consciousness, thoughts that I've had throughout the week. I do keep track of my ideas on the Notes app in my phone, so this is going to be another one along those lines. This is going to be about perspective, I can at least say that, and we'll see where it goes. So, a lot of times with me, I will think of different movie lines, and they just kind of will hit me in relation to something that I'm dealing with. There's one in particular from the original Spider-Man movie in 2002 with Tobey Maguire. At the end of the movie, he's talking about being Spider-Man, and he says, "This is my gift, it is my curse." And obviously right there, it's very much talking about the duality and two sides of a situation. Things can often seem like both a blessing and a curse. And I was 14 years old when I'd seen that, so this was very early on. I'd only been dealing with feelings of depression for about a year, and not consistently. It wasn't like I wasn't functioning, it wasn't like this was every day, but I was starting to get familiar with those places, shall we say. And when I heard that line, it was very powerful to me, because I was like, wow, I so much feel like this is a curse, having these feelings, and almost like having greater intellect in many ways felt like that's what led me to be depressed. I think about being a kid and you're just not aware of things, and how being ignorant to certain facts makes it easier to just kind of go on and not get down about things and sort of not see the dark side. So it was almost a curse, having this greater capacity to reason things out emotionally. And at the same time, even then, I would feel like it was a gift to an extent, in that it very much drove me to want to help other people, to help people who were dealing with the feelings that I was dealing with. It was a low level, like I said, I was young. I didn't know quite how or in what way I would really go about it, but a part of me always wanted to use it to be able to help others, to be like, hey, you know what, I've been there. These are things that have helped me, or just to listen and make someone else feel better. So in that regard, it was a blessing. And I can see it so much more now that it's a gift, and that I can understand where someone who's been clinically depressed has been. Like I've been talking about very much recently, losing my cousin to suicide has been extremely difficult. Yesterday would have been his 30th birthday. It's a day we should have been celebrating a milestone together. It was supposed to be it should be a very happy time. And because he's not here, it was obviously very difficult. It was a rough day. It very much brings things to the forefront and it puts you back in that place of grief. So the point being in me bringing that up is, I know that he and anyone who dies by suicide goes to a very dark place. You're obviously severely depressed. There may be other mental health issues that are going on, but you're in a place where you're not thinking clearly. You've gotten to a point where in your mind you literally cannot deal with what's going on, the pain, your perception of the pain, and emotional pain can be very severe. I've been to places where you don't want to get out of bed, where you don't want to do anything, you don't want to be around people. You're wondering, how am I ever going to get better? How am I going to have a normal life? How am I going to have all these things that I want? And you worry about, well, all my friends are so far ahead of me, and especially today with social media, we see everything, and of course, everyone puts their best foot forward. No one's going to tell you about the things that are going on that are difficult. Everyone's just going to show you the pictures of the house, their significant other, kids if they have them, accomplishments. We obviously highlight those things. No one's going to go on social media typically and be like, oh, hey, I'm financially struggling, we're going to lose the house, my wife's going to divorce me. Like, those things aren't there on social media, but they happen. There's challenges in life. So every time we want to compare ourselves to someone else and be like, oh my God, they're so far ahead of me, and you get down on yourself. And there have been studies that have proven this with the greater presence of social media, so many more people are more susceptible to feelings of depression. Not necessarily clinical depression, but you feel as if you're inferior to these people, these friends of yours, whether they're friends in real life or simply friends online. So, point being, something to think about, but getting back to the main issue, me feeling like what I've been through is a gift. You know, there aren't many people out there, especially, or I should say not especially, but even those who are in the mental health profession, whether you're a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a counselor, a therapist, you know, whatever your function is, very many of them haven't experienced a depression or a very severe depression necessarily. Some have, certainly, and I would imagine that there is probably some kind of personal connection. There's some reason they're doing what they're doing, at least, hopefully, and for the most part. But I don't know that you're going to find or at least in general, a therapist who has dealt with, say, bipolar disorder. And one of my diagnoses is bipolar disorder NOS, which stands for not otherwise specified, meaning that I don't fit the typical textbook definition. I don't usually cycle. A lot of people with bipolar disorder will go through cycles. They're depressed, which is the low end, then they start getting more energetic, and they go into mania. Mania typically is, or not typically, it is the high end of bipolar disorder, but some people will experience feelings of euphoria. You feel like a superhero, you feel like you can do anything. You will get by in very little sleep, and it doesn't bother you. You're not thinking rationally. You're thinking that you're invincible. So in very many ways, it is the other side of depression, whereas depression is, you know, let's isolate, and I'm not capable of anything, and this big, very much fear-based. Mania, you want to go out and socialize with everyone. All of a sudden, you're capable of anything. You can do whatever you want, literally. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop you. And that can be, it sounds almost like fun in a way, and it can be for a time until you come down and you start to realize, oh my God, you know, I spent so much money that I shouldn't have because now it's gone, or I behaved so irrationally, or whatever it might be. And the point being, since I've had those experiences, I'm glad in that when I'm able to put out content like this, when I'm able to meet someone who may have struggled with a similar issue or, you know, worse to a lesser degree, whatever, I can genuinely say, I know what you're saying. I've been in that headspace. I very much understand what you mean. Whereas someone else who may have read it in a book, if I read a book about war, that doesn't mean that I'm a soldier or that I understand the kind of pressure that would put on you emotionally to have to see that kind of violence and see people's lives being taken, perhaps having to have taken a life yourself. I don't care if I read a book about that. I don't care if I read a book about somebody who had that experience. It would give me a little bit better of an insight, but that doesn't mean that I understand it. Not on the level of, oh, I get it, man. Like, I feel what you're thinking. I can't. I literally can't. And that's what I think a big problem is that a lot of people face who deal with depression or anxiety or any mental illness, really. Your loved ones often can't relate. They don't understand. They don't have a reference point for it. They've never been depressed. They've never been, or at least to the extent of being unable to function. So many people will say, oh, well, you know what, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get on with it, man. You need to work more. You need to get back into your routine. And people can't see that it's not always that simple. There needs to be other things to get you back to a level of quote-unquote normalcy. Whether that's simply therapy or whether it's, a lot of times it's therapy in conjunction with therapy in conjunction with medication. Also in conjunction with, I think things like exercise. Your physical health really does influence your mental health and vice versa. Exercise, yoga, meditation, which meditation I suppose is more, mental rather than physical per se, but meditation can very much be physical in the fact of if you're doing breathing techniques, the airflow and that sort of thing, it is a physiological response. It's not simply you focusing on something mentally. So, all that being said, I'm fortunate enough to be in the position to where I can say, hey, I get it. I've been there. I've been in this headspace. I can tell you what's worked for me. I can give you these suggestions. Does that mean I can solve your problems? No. Does that mean that everything that works for me will work for you? No. Does that mean you can get on the Out of the Shadows program and you're going to be A-okay? Not necessarily, but I can give you things that I know in real life, in my life, have worked for me, have gotten me through, have gotten me to this point where I'm not depressed and wanting to isolate and not working and not able to really participate in life. I've gotten through that. Does that mean I'll never have that experience again? No, I very well may. But I will do everything I can to avoid getting to that point. And I can assist others in offering methods that I know are effective. And maybe not all of them, but at least some. And if nothing else, I can always listen and be an empathetic ear, meaning I can empathize. I've been to those places. So this was very quick. This was just all over the place. I hope this was helpful. As always, guys, please like, share, subscribe, leave me some comments. What did you like? Do you have any ideas for future episodes? Follow me on Instagram at Out of the Shadows Corvo, just like my name here, all one word. And until later, my friends, be well.